Hello, today we're going to be presenting analysis of 2023 Ford F-150 XLT. The team members are Maximiliano Vargas, Adamaris Sanchez, Gabriel Soriano, David Vera, and Israel Vera.
An overview of the 2023 Ford F-150 XLT. It is a vehicle categorized as a pickup truck. The main uses for this vehicle is to transport people and their luggage to and from their destination. The vehicle can also be used to tow up to 14,000 pounds and can be used off-road as well. Next slide. Some of the major systems of the Ford F-150 include engine system, transmission system, suspension system. All these systems work together to ensure functionality and efficiency of the vehicle. The engine is responsible for converting fuel into energy, which the energy is pushed into the transmission to facilitate the efficiency of the fuel. And finally, the suspension and brake system ensure the safety use of the vehicle on the road, as well as a comfortable ride.
So the engine is arguably the most important part of any car, especially the Ford F-150. The main job is to turn fuel into kinetic energy, which will eventually move the car forward. But it also has many other jobs, such as powering electrical systems and so on and so forth. It is usually made via aluminum, 2024 T6 aluminum. And this specific one that we are analyzing is a 5.0 liter V8, which 5.0 liter means how much displacement is in the overall engine, and V8 is just how many pistons it has. The flow of energy flows from the piston cylinder, and those pistons will fire and hit the crankshaft, which is then converted into rotational kinetic energy through the flywheel and eventually makes its way through the transmission. Next slide. So some alternative materials that we played around with are gray cast iron. We decided it would be gray cast iron to ensure the durability of the engine, because in previous years of this specific car, a lot of the durability of the engine came into question when people had problems with it. Some more advantages of it are the availability and the cost of the material. It's a lot cheaper than aluminum. But some disadvantages, though, come with the engine is inherently heavier because it's denser, and it does not dissipate heat as well as aluminum does. And of course, it doesn't machine as well as aluminum does. So those are some of the advantages and disadvantages of gray cast iron compared to aluminum. Next slide. An alternative manufacturing plan will be to first, it's the same, you would use a sand cast in order to make the overall block of the engine. And then holes will be drilled or tapped into the engine to make sure that you can have accessibility to the water pump, alternator, so those can be put onto the engine. And the main stress points of the engine will be forged to make sure that, again, the durability will be able to withstand a lot of stresses. And finally, the pieces that require dimensional accuracy will be machined down to specific tolerances so the engine can work properly. Next slide. The sustainability of gray cast iron is very great because it's infinitely recyclable, which means no matter how many times it's been used in other components, it can always be recycled, which really helps sustainability. And there is a lot of cast iron in our environment, so we're able to use a lot of it. However, there is more energy required because of the additional forging process, and has a higher melting point than aluminum, which causes it to require more energy to be machined and sand casted. Next slide.
So the next slide is exhaust system. The exhaust system is responsible for removing harmful gases away from the passengers, as well as the exterior environment, which are generated during the combustion process. So like your carbon monoxide is kind of expelled that way. Additionally, the system is also responsible for reducing the noise by dampening the sound waves created by the engine. So the resonator is, the muffler, as you can see in there, is used to dampen the sound. Next slide. The manufacturing process of the exhaust. The exhaust assembly piping is usually made from aluminized steel. So first, the material is placed into a furnace to be cast into a billet, which is like a giant block. Then it is hot rolled into the desired thickness for the sheet metal so that it could be constructed into piping. Then it is annealed. It's cooled down in the sense to at a pace which helps for strength and ductility. And then at the end, it's dipped in a chemical solution to remove any contaminants. The sheet metal is then bent and welded together at joints to fit onto the vehicle frame. And then lastly, it's coated with aluminum silicone aisle. The tooling that can be required is a furnace, sandcast system, rolling mill, MIG welder, tube bender, grinding wheels, and spray gun. Next slide. So alternate material for exhaust that I wanted to use was the stainless steel 339. The reason for that is it is very corrosive resistant, The manufacturing process is also similar to the current material being used, and it looks better, as you can tell by the picture there. And it's also environmentally friendly. The disadvantages is the raw material cost is more costly. The material is also denser, so it would be heavier, and welding is a little more difficult, so it requires more precision work. Next slide.
The control arms. The control arms aid in regulating the wheel's vertical movement. It serves as a connection point between the suspension parts and the truck's chassis, enabling the wheels to move up and down in reaction to road irregularities and bumps in a controlled and limited manner. The control arms need to have high strength and not bend, as it is a piece that stabilizes the wheels, meaning it has to be firm. The material which this component is made of is white cast iron, as it is a very hard material and has good abrasion resistance. Manufacturing process of control arms. The control arms are to be produced by primarily using the stamping process by using white cast iron metal sheets and an automotive stamping press, also known as Stamptech stamping press. Using a control arm mold, it will bend the metal sheets into a control arm form. The secondary production method will be the trimming. This is to give a more appropriate look to the piece that has just been stamped in the stamping press. The control arm is then compressed. It's composed of two main pieces, which would be the upper control arm and the lower control arm. There is a need for drilling to make holes for the ball joints. The assembly operation will be riveting, as the control arms are just one complete piece. Tooling. The tooling are the control arm molds, abrasive arbor grinder, drill metal sheets, and their grinder, bolts, and screws. Control arm sustainability. White cast iron is made from pig iron and is typically cheaper than other materials like steel or aluminum. White cast iron control arms are known for their durability and resistance to wear during the need for and reducing the need for frequent replacements. Also, cast iron is highly recyclable, and control arms can be recycled at the end of their life. Coil spring. The coil spring is a cylindrical spring that is made with coiled spring steel. The purpose of a coil spring is to compress and expand when absorbing shocks and road vibrations. The coil spring of the truck needs to have a good resistance to compression and high young modulus so that there are no deformations in the piece, and a high UTS so that the coil spring does not suffer from fracture. The material 5160 steel was chosen as it seems to have most of the characteristics that are taken into account for the coil spring. Manufacturing process of the coil spring. The primary method of production of this piece is the coiling method by using the 5160 steel metal and the machine CNC spring machine specialists. The coils for the truck are made. This machine is specifically made for the purpose of making spring coils for automobiles. The secondary method of production would be trimming by using the automatic edge trimming machine in order for there to not be any sharp edges in both ends of the coils on the top and on the bottom. The assembly of the piece consists of connecting the spring coil to the damper shock body by inserting it inside the coil spring, which is then connected to both ends on the top and on the on the top and the top nut. Is placed as it is a piece that maintains the connection between the coil and the damper body. The tooling needed will be powder metal, drill screws, notches, plastic tops, and brushes. Coil spring sustainability. 5160 steel coil springs are known for their durability and long lifespan, reducing the need for frequent replacements, thus conserving resources and reducing waste. A steel coil spring can be easily recycled, providing a sustainable source of raw material for new products. Steel coil springs are generally heavier than alternative materials, but the durability and recyclability of steel can offset this impact over the long term.
Okay. For the wheel and tire system, designing, manufacturing, and assembling the wheels and tires for the truck is very crucial. These parts serve more than just moving the vehicle, but it also impacts the performance while choosing. It depends on choosing which type of tire or wheel you pick. Next slide. So a little description about the wheel. It is a circular component made of steel. It consists of metal rim, some spokes sometimes, and hubs. So it also provides support for the vehicle. It allows smooth movement along the road and is designed buried on the base of the vehicle type. And it is usually made out of low carbon steel or aluminum, 6061 to be exact. So the wheels for the 23 F-150 XLT is usually alloy painted wheels, and wheels in the inch size is 17. Next slide. Okay, for the tires, it's the outermost ring shaped component, so it's the rubber part. It is anchored to the wheels by beads. The structure includes treads, the carcass, the inner lining, and belts, and it is usually made of butadiene, rubber, and polyester or nylon as a fabric. So the wheels they're all terrain tires used for the 2023 F-150 XLT, and the size is 2065 or 70 R17. So for the manufacturing and assembly of the wheels, the manufacturing process method the primary process is casting or forging, which is molten steel, and it is used to form the wheel. In this process, you can pick different shapes or sizes depending on which one you want. Then it's machining, so milling and the turning processes, and then heat treatment to enhance the strength and durability. The secondary process includes the finishing of the surface, so painting or powder coatings. For the assembly method, inspection and cleaning is very important because this is what really affects the tire mounting process. So next slide. So for the tires, the manufacturing and assembly process, for the primary method of the manufacturing, the compound and mixing. So in this part, you pick which rubber compounds you want, synthetics and rubbers. And at this part, this is where you blend it to make the rubber compound that you will extrude. So this is where they extrude the shape into the sidewalls. And the secondary manufacturing process is the trimming and inspection. So there's extra rubber, so they have to trim it off. The assembly method consists of tire building and the curing process when it is combined with the tire and wheel. Next slide.
So the car bumper is pretty crucial to a vehicle for protection on the road and off the road. It provides impact resistance, and it also provides stylish aesthetic. It's basically a barrier against low-speed collisions and absorbs impact and protects vital components such as the radiator, engine, and so on. It's made up of plastic like TPO or A36 steel as the materials that we chose. Depending on the needs and wants of the consumer, you go with plastic if you want lightweight, or go with steel if you want something sturdy for off-road. TPO is lightweight, improves fuel efficiency, and absorbs impact well in minor collisions. And like I said, for heavier collisions, other components such as like the beams behind the bumper will take care of that. Bumpers are primarily made through a reaction injection molding process for the TPO material, where two liquid components are mixed and injected into a heated mold. After curing, the bumper is trimmed and holes are drilled or punched for assembly. Additional reinforcement might be welded and brackets that are attached. And finally, the bumper is sanded, painted, and inspected for quality. This process requires various tools like molds, dies, jigs, and welding equipment. Plastic car bumpers pose a sustainability challenge due to their non-biodegradable nature and the environmental footprint of production. However, you can recycle the plastic. They're working on better recycling methods to reduce waste that goes to landfills and improve fuel efficiency and reduce overall emissions during the production process. Next slide, please. The car windshield is also really important for a vehicle. It provides safety and visibility to a driver. Clarity is very crucial for safe driving, free of distortion. They also put subtle green tints in the windshield to reduce glare and eye strain. Windshields are typically impact resistant, and they're made of tempered glass, which undergo treatment processes to make it stronger. Windshields are formed by floating molten glass on molten tin, creating a flat sheet, and then the sheet is cut and shaped and tempered for strength. There's also a lamination process. Two pieces of tempered glass are laminated with PVB for safety. The final product undergoes edge finishing and ceramic frit application, and then it's inspected, goes through quality checks. The process requires specialized tools like a float bath, cutting tools, tempering furnaces, and autoclaves for lamination. And finally, for the sustainability, glass requires high energy consumption and generates greenhouse gases. However, recycling windshields reduces the need for virgin materials and lowers the environmental footprint. And you can also just repair minor damage instead of getting a full replacement, which also minimizes the waste and resource consumption. Okay, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.